There is a little bit additional right-of-way impacts, as you can see for the red up there on the bottom drawing. That shows the additional land we need, because we are adding basically 11 foot of asphalt to what was originally in there. And then to the right, you'll see this is where I was talking about we had pushed the sidewalk up against the curb. As you can see in the picture above, it shows it's roughly, you got the curb, some grass area, and then your sidewalk. Now we're putting the sidewalk right up against it so that we can get in and avoid any impacts to the homeowners that have their fencing and walls there. You want to go to the next one real quick, Chad? This is the roundabout we had talked about. The initial roundabout had all four corners with some partial impacts, which affected some parking for the doctor's office, which we have now shifted. So we're basically affecting some of the pond for the condo community there. And also, I believe that's, drawing a blank, Bishop. There we go. Thank you. And but basically that'll fit the roundabout in there, which does slow traffic down and everything. We do know there's some discussions of looking, you know, whether it's a signal or a roundabout, and we are still working on that part. But this alignment, if there's a modification made to it, would shrink the right-of-way needs, which means we wouldn't have to bring it back for an alignment modification again. And I think there might be one more on this one. Nope, that's it. So those are basically the big changes that happened in there. On the exhibit, there's an Exhibit A for the attachment, just for the clerk. That is the last sheet that was included in here. That is actually Exhibit A, but it is not labeled as such. It is the large drawing that's shown there in the attachments.
Okay, thank you, Clark. Chad, keep the slide that's up, keep the roundabout up if you would, even though I'm going to reference another slide. So the adjustment at Manatee Avenue and 59th Street, adding the second left-hand turn lane, I can't thank you enough for that. We really can't thank you enough for making adjustments so that we eliminated all full parcel takes, and also drastically limited. Scott did a great job of drastically limiting right-of-way acquisition. From what I recall, none of the homes along Spanish Park are going to be impacted on their personal property, right? It'll be existing county right-of-way only that is used.
Correct. There'll be some
Correct.
grading that we might have to do a little bit, but it would just be to make
Correct.
sure
There's no take of private property.
Correct.
Which is huge. So I really thank you for that. Initially, we wanted to do, just for the commissioners, initially we wanted to do multiple roundabouts on 59th and eliminate the red lights. However, because on a 4-lane road, the roundabout, you can't have any sort of lane drifting like you can in a 2-lane. The size of the roundabout, because of the geometry of it, has to be much larger, and so the right-of-way acquisitions would not have made the juice worth the squeeze. I mean, right-of-ways are great for traffic flow. They're even better for safety. We all sat through like a 4-hour FDOT meeting where we wanted to pull our hair out, you know, out east, but that's certainly something we took from it. I mean, I'm sure Scott was enjoying every minute of the, you know, the traffic engineer's presentation that day. So since it wasn't going to work, I asked Scott to eliminate the roundabouts. However, when we first voted on this, the language the board gave staff was 59th Street to include roundabouts. So Scott had to follow the direction of the board and bring us at least one roundabout in his presentation. So what I'm looking for from you all is to eliminate this for a vote to eliminate the roundabout, because we could only eliminate it through a vote. So I'm looking for a vote to eliminate the roundabout. And my other concern is pond locations at Bray, but this is only phase 1, because we've broken 59th Street into 2 phases, correct?
It hasn't been broken yet, but it will be broken at a certain point in time.
Is now the appropriate time for me to bring up the pond location at the T-ball field?
You can bring that up. We are looking at that right now, and they're figuring out the details of it.
Okay. Do you require action from the board to make that change, or you'll start looking for other pond sites without action from the board?
We should be able to do it since it is Bray, and we have the ability to do it without needing to go through eminent domain process. So I don't believe you would need to do that, but I defer to Bill in this case. If we're getting from ourselves, I don't think we have to go through that alignment approval for that piece with the ponds.
And if they do have to do eminent domain, they would just come back to us, obviously. Nothing will be done without the board approval.
Yeah, I would need more detail to be able to give you an opinion on that. I'm not sure I understand the issue.
So the subject simply is changing the location of a pond site on GT Bray site would be the idea, instead of, you know, at X location at Bray, it would be Y location, still on GT Bray
Is
land.
that pond site reflected in the alignment that's in the resolution as an exhibit, or is it not part of that?
The current pond site that is there is not shown where the T-ball fields is. It's shown in a different location. But it's
All
still
right.
on the GT Break property, and it's still the same size. The
So-
difference we're looking at is moving it along those back of the T-ball fields.
This stuff is very litigious when it gets to court. And you can see my assistant county attorney standing there.
She's lurking behind you.
Yeah.
Yep.
you know. Come on down, Pamela, but, and if you disagree with me about this, go ahead and say so. But my inclination is, if the board wants to make changes to this, they should direct that those changes be made and brought back to the board as part of the drafted exhibits, so that that's what's adopted in the resolution. Is that where you would, the best way to do it, Pamela?
Good afternoon, no, good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Pamela D'Agostino, Assistant County Attorney for the record. That is certainly a way it could be accomplished, but considering that if the county engineer is proposing putting ponds only on county property, no matter where they're going to put it,
Oh,
the board could simply authorize the alignment, provided that any ponds are located on county property, and then staff has the discretion to locate the ponds, provided they're within county property.
Okay, that's a good point, and I may be conflating the two issues, because I was thinking about the roundabout, to be honest with you. I was more concerned about the idea that we're going to eliminate the roundabout. That's fine if the board wants to do that, but should that not be reflected in a revised alignment that's brought back to the board for adoption?
I don't think from a technical perspective, they need to dictate whether it's a roundabout or whether it's a regular intersection, as long as
They
the
want
limits
to.
of the alignment will allow for either.
So the concern was that the original direction the board gave was for 59th Street alignment to include roundabouts, and, you know, staff felt uncomfortable bringing us something that was in direct contradiction of the board's direction.
And I agree with that. I think it's more appropriate to just stick to the concept of the alignment itself that's depicted, whether that be a roundabout or an intersection. I mean, to the extent that the board wants a roundabout, and you want that done no matter what, you need to give that direction. But if you don't want that, then you need to give the discretion to staff to allow them to choose between a roundabout or a straight intersection, allowing them to choose within the limits of what's depicted.
Okay, so a proposed motion, wait, don't go anywhere yet. So a proposed motion would include language that said we approve this roundabout while giving staff discretion on, sorry, we approve this alignment while giving staff discretion on the need for roundabouts.
Whether the appropriate design is a roundabout or an alternative
Right,
intersection.
as well as pond locations on county property.
Yes, that would
So
work.
moved.
Is that good enough? I can't do the motion anyway, so we'll hold off on that for a second. Okay. Roundabout pond locations, those were and thank you for eliminating the total takes and the right-of-way act, that was my comments. Anyone else on the board that would like to speak at this time? Okay, we're gonna go to public comment, then we'll do motions, okay. So if you signed up, my system is down, but obviously, everyone will have an opportunity to speak. So you can organize yourselves however you like, if you want to go by age or height or alphabetical order, or it can just be total chaos, whatever you choose today.
We'll do chaos.
Okay, so we'll go Lori and then McGarry. So just as a reminder, I know you've sat through this whole meeting, but this is agenda-specific items. So you'll state your first name, your last name, your county of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak on the alignment of 59th Street. Ma'am?
My name is Lori Kiefer, Manatee County. I do have a question, though. Can I, in addition to what I was going to speak on, may I ask a question?
Just ask your question over the course of your statement, and then when we conclude public comment on the item, I'll try to answer your question.
Cool, thank you. I am here in opposition of the widening of 59th Street. Commissioner Cruz, you had spoken last meeting about getting ahead of infrastructure, which I thought was great to put out there. I took a ride and I drove on Erie Road and Moccasin Wallow Road and Lorraine Road because of that. There were 2 lanes for miles bordered by grass and ditches. There were a few left turn lanes with new developments or churches, no lighting. Sidewalks were patchy. Some were at the outsides of allotments and some were at churches. Erie Road had some north side sidewalking and getting some new infrastructure close to 301 there. So that was a whole new picture for me, all in one. So I see what you mean by that. I question how they compare to all of 59th Street, though. 59th Street received its infrastructure many years ago. Its 2 lanes function extremely well because there are almost continuous left turn lanes everywhere, in addition to a number of right turn lanes to help out. Almost all the intersections have left turn arrows. Sidewalks run the length of the east side, and more would be welcomed, of course. A multi-use path would be welcomed, and since a bike lane can't be added, even with widening to 4 lanes, one could be added without the widening. What I don't understand is what we could possibly be getting ahead of with the 59th Street widening. The little spoken agenda points to the future development in the area south of Cortez along the southern 75th Street extension going to El Conquistador Parkway. I'd like to address that. This is directed to each of you. It's a little unique, I guess. I'm asking you to get in your cars and drive west on Route 70 from your side of town. It's 4 lanes, of course. Follow 70 into West Bradenton, where it becomes 53rd Avenue, still 4 lanes. You'll cross over 34th Street. IMG has a lot of the property there on the left. You'll notice that 53rd is still 4 lanes, but now it has a median and is generously lighted. It has infrastructure there and is ready for that new development. You'll pass the intersection of 43rd Street on your right, it goes north. You'll pass the intersection of 51st Street on your right, it goes north. If you glance to your left, to the south, you'll see acres and acres of that yet-to-be-developed land. Continue west on 53rd Avenue, you'll pass 66th Street on your right, it goes north. Then you'll get to the roundabout where you can either bear right and take 75th Street north, or you can bear left at the roundabout approach and take 75th Street to the south while you're curving around the other side of all that acreage. Please note that you never saw an intersection for 59th Street because it isn't there. You simply can't get to it from there. Who would pass up all those other connectors to find their way to the 2.3 miles of 59th Street? Please take this ride, it's enlightening. I did have a question, though. Can I go over time with that?
Go ahead and ask your question.
Regarding the double lane addition at Manatee, which sounds like a great idea, but is FDOT not involved? And I question how, like a truck with a boat or landscape equipment with a trailer would have the radius to make that left turn with that little median that's on Manatee with the post at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. McGarry, so please state your first name, your last name, your county of residence, and then you have 3 minutes to speak specifically on 59th Street, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the board for this opportunity. Robert McGarry, Manatee County resident, resident of Point West. We had our board meeting last night. We have it the first Monday of every month. The first question all of the board members wanted to know is, when did you find out about this project? 2 weeks, as of today. Now, I know at the last meeting, it was mentioned it's on the website, and the general reaction to that was, are they kidding us? There should have been public notice and great explanation to the residents. You're going to change the lifestyle of the people living off 59th Street forever. There will be 2 years of construction that will be very difficult to put up with and drive through. Right now on 43rd Street in Cortez, there's about 100 yards of widening on one of the turn lanes. It's a nightmare to go there. I will not drive there again. I did it twice. Took me 5 light changes to get through. There's been a lot of work done on your part that we didn't know about. And I'm sure there's a lot of good scientific and technological things that were well done. But conceptually, West Braden and Manatee Avenue have been around. I've been here 45 years. They've not changed much in the last 40 years. What is the allure? What is the great interest of being able to go to Manatee Avenue from that area by the roundabout on the 53rd? Cortez Road has plenty of shopping, restaurants, and stores. 41 has plenty of restaurants, shopping, and stores. An evacuation route, the best way to go is down 53rd or Cortez out to the highways, 301, 41, and the interstate. we just don't understand, and I've been driving around this area for 40 years. I lived in San Remo Shores for 44 years. Who's going to west and northwest Bradenton from that south subdivision? I know there's going to be thousands of homes and condos and apartments, but what is the great need? The people coming from the north in northwest Bradenton and north of Manatee have no problem getting through. I don't see why, conceptually, as Lori said, 59th Street doesn't go through. You're going to have to drive to 75th and make a right-hand turn and go 16 blocks at 59th to turn left, and it's 4 lanes. We are against it. The Village of Point West had their homeowners association meeting last night at 6:30. Ours started at 7. I stopped in there. They don't like the project at all. They're as negative about it as we are. And the general question was, how come we only found out about this within the last 2 weeks? And I know it's on the website. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Come on down. Please state your first and last name, your county of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak on this item.
Okay. Carrie Wilson, Manatee County. First of all, thank you for making some changes. I appreciate that. And I am still against the 4-lane road, and I don't know anyone who isn't in my area. This is about something a little different, though. I would first like to attempt to set straight an apparent misunderstanding from last time. Since learning that there would be a 59th Street West road project, the information that we have acquired regarding what might happen with the road or what will happen with the road and to our properties was not obtained from lawyers. The letters from the lawyers simply served to alert us to the fact that there would be a project and that some property would likely be acquired by the county. As I mentioned previously, once we were notified, we did research. And most, if not all, of that research has been done via your website, which we thoroughly searched soon after we became aware of the project. We have been following the plans closely on the site since that time, and we continue to watch the various changes closely. Secondly, I'm not really sure why the average person would look at a county website regularly without knowing of a specific need to do so. Prior to 2 months ago, I had not heard anything in local news either, and it seems I was not the only one to have missed news of this project. I expect and understand that it is much likely easier not to deal with us before or in the early stages of a project and to simply present us with completed plans. It's true that we probably would not have been thrilled to learn of it at any point in time. However, we are a lot less happy knowing now that we were only to be presented with a completed plan and to receive acquisition notices in the mail, which have now begun to arrive. We would like to have received letters in the early stages or to have had a sign put up with plan information, or even better, to have been invited to give input and to collaborate before the project began. I suppose this may be something for you to bear in mind in the future. Finally, though I am not making an accusation, I would like to request transparency and honesty now and hereafter. Though we are capable of doing and are doing our own research, we would like to hear from you on all of what you know about this project. We do not need to be protected from incomplete information. You can simply qualify it as such. Once again, I hope that our voices will be heard and that all of our needs and wishes will be carefully considered. I do thank you for what you just showed us today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for clearing that up. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward to speak? Sir?
My name's Randy Johnson, Manatee County. Live directly on 59th Street. I've talked to people walk by every day. Nobody wants this. The only ones that I know that want it are developers and possibly some of you. The Big Six. 59th is not a Big Six. You really have Big Five. Around the Big Five, I call it, there's building everywhere, construction everywhere. None of that is on 59th Street. You said you wanted to fix a problem before it breaks. If there's no building on 59th Street, there's no breakage. I don't see it. It's not possible. Unless Manatee has acquired Bishop, unless you're going to build there, there's nowhere to build. There's no reason for this. He said, Mr. Cruz said, we're giving 59th Street because it's commercial. Well, yes, some of it is commercial, but a lot of it from Manatee to 17th is all residential. I think there's two, maybe three businesses, doctor's offices, that's about it. They have their own driveways. Residents have driveways that go to 59th Street. We have to be able to back out or pull in, or possibly have room to turn around to get back out on 59th Street. With this proceeding, I see that not happening. You're going to make it miserable for anybody that lives on this road to do that. There's no reason for it on our road. Find another 6. Manatee, 59th Street is not your 6. You have other places to spend your money. I would request that from Manatee to 17th, you keep it residential. Spend your money elsewhere. We don't need it widened there. We need to be able to get onto our streets safely. Mr. Bearden always says, what's best for the citizens? That's what's best for citizens on 59th Street, is this not to happen from Manatee to 17th. Back up your words, vote no against this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Yes, sir. So please state your first and last name, your county of residence.
My name's Dr. Irv Zamokoff, and I'm a Manatee County resident. I built my office in Tanglewood at 51st and 59th Street 50 years ago. And so I've seen the area grow, and I've seen the professional area grow. There are over 26 professionals, doctors and dentists and chiropractors and so on in that area, and probably another 10 or 11 or 12 auxiliary personnel, hygienists and so on that attract patients every day. So there's literally 600 to 1,000 cars that drive in and out of that general area to see doctors every single day. Now, if I understand, there was not going to be a median south of 21st anymore in the amended plan?
Please speak into the microphone, sir.
Yeah, okay. My main concern was the median that was going to exist, which would mean any traffic driving south would have to make a left turn or in order to get into the main entrance to Tanglewood, would require a U-turn. And if we have 600 to 1,000 cars a day, mostly seniors, some super seniors, at least we'll have approximately 200 cars a day making that U-turn. And that's a problem waiting to become a disaster. Also, we get a few semi-trucks into this area as well. And they would have no access to come into the professional areas. Where the left turn lane exists on at least the outline that was presented earlier, it does not turn into anything other than someone else's private office. So that left turn lane would create all these cars turning into an area where they couldn't get into Tanglewood without winding their way back across private property. And you can imagine a couple hundred cars a day trying to do that. The secondary entrance into Tanglewood is too small to handle the volume of traffic that would require that or any supersized trucks. So that's a big problem for us. It needs to be amended in some fashion if this road is going to go through. I would also like to voice my personal opinion. I don't believe we need a roundabout at 17th. We do need some improvement for left turns, both at Manatee and Cortez. But besides that, I don't really know that we need to be 4-laned. That's my own personal opinion. But if it does go through, the ideal south of 21st Street would just be a single left turn lane for both directions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I saw our traffic engineer taking notes as you were talking, so I'm sure we'll discuss the main Tanglewood Park entrance. Okay, sir, please state your first and last name, your
Larry
county of
Grossman,
residence. Sir, your
Manatee
county of,
County.
sir, your county of
Manatee
residence.
County.
Sir, when I'm finished, you may start.
Oh, okay.
Please state your first and last name, your county of residence, and you have 3 minutes specifically on this item.
Larry Grossman, Manatee County. I looked at the traffic report, I have to say that you're projecting to 2045 with some certainty. I can't believe that. It's like saying Tom Brady will be quarterback for the Bucks in that year. That is about as accurate as this traffic report will be, or is. So, I sent a letter to you. I made an error stating that 59th would be designated an arterial in the future. 2035 LRTB, the Long-Range Transportation Plan. It will be designated a collector, except that the 2035 plan calls for 4 lanes with 120-foot right-of-way, which is like calling it an arterial with that number of lanes and amount of right-of-way. Very wide street. But as a collector, which collects from the local streets feeding into it, the street can't functionally do any more in terms of attracting an appreciable number of trips than it is doing now. It doesn't serve, it's not a commuter route, it could never be a commuter route. It ends at Manatee Avenue. So the congestion is really at the intersections, and there's not really much you can do about it. You change the timing perhaps, but making it wider doesn't make it better. You can't fit more lanes, and you can't fit more lanes going into an arterial that doesn't also have more lanes, which you can't do. Any case, so to me, this is just a waste of money and misconceived. And of course, it was conceived without the participation of the residents, who seem to be the last to find out what this is all about. I would ask that the county administrator get their attorney to just review for the citizens the notification requirements for this kind of project, and how is it that the people who could be most affected were the least informed about this project. There's got to be some notifications other than go look at the CIP. That's not what these folks do every day. Someone like me could do that because I'm retired, and I might have an interest in this, but certainly you can't expect citizens to, especially when you're going to directly impact them, to know all this stuff. You've got to contact them directly, and not from the lawyers. Don't blame the lawyers. They're just doing their job, aggressive or not. That's what they're doing. It's your job to inform the citizens. Making this 4 lanes is just going to make it a speedway because you have more capacity than you have traffic volumes. And that isn't going to make it a safe street. It's going to make it an unsafe street. Especially given, and you've heard testimony from the doctor, I can get my doctor to come if it was not during his working hours. He also has his offices on 59th Street. This, you have the children from the school, the Sugg School, and the elementary school. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward to speak on 59th Street? Yes, ma'am. So when you get to the podium, please state your first name, your last name, your county of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes on this item.
My name is Mary Ann Faulkner. I am a resident of Manatee County and have been for the last 23 years. I live in that particular area right off 59th Street, and for the life of me, I cannot understand why our commissioners are going to vote for something that the residents of the area are completely against. And you can say, well, there's only a few members here. But I guarantee you that if the residents in that area were made aware of what you're planning to do, needlessly spending our tax dollars and putting our homes, the school children, and the people in that area at risk, they would be up in arms. I will be ashamed if you do vote this project in. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. There he is. So first and last name, your county of residence, and you have 3 minutes on this item, sir.
Hello, thank you. My name is James Shepard from Manatee County, Florida. I spoke last week about this same thing. Of course, we're all against this. My concern is who's going to benefit from this? Only in that what we can figure out when we speak about this is the only people that's going to benefit is the developers and the people who are supporting these developers. And another concern I have is, because I'm not real familiar with it, is if you guys have, let's just say, 15 feet of easement, and you use that 15 feet of easement, aren't you then going to have to take 15 feet more of our property to make the easement? I don't know the answer, but maybe you guys could address that, because like I said, I don't know enough how that works, but that's my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward to speak on 59th Street? Okay, seeing no one, we'll go to the phone. Has anyone called in on 59th Street?
We have no raised hands at this moment.
Okay, we're going to close public comment. I am going to ask Scott to come forward to speak on the question about the easement while it's fresh in my mind.
Sure. Just to clarify with that, what it is we are acquiring right-of-way, which is where we need it, and that's the small amount. There is a certain amount of easement that is needed. What that is it's basically to harmonize driveways and the grass areas that are there. We want to make it so that the drives are not too steep or create a problem where a car might bottom out or something to that effect, and also to make sure grass is mowable and things like that. So when we get in there to do this, we basically have to have a little bit of an easement. We call it, temporary easement because we're just doing it, but because of codes and everything, we do permanent easements because we are permanently altering the ground level or the driveway as the approach came in.
Okay.
But whether that's 15 feet or 3 feet from the right-of-way, it just depends on where the grades fall at and with where it is. But we
Okay.
need to make it a safe condition.
And so, as Chad steps up, I guess my question, what he's referring to, I believe, is everyone knows that basically everything in between the sidewalk and the road belongs to the county, right? And usually it's actually the power pole. Usually your light pole, your power pole is, they push that as far back as they can,
That
so they don't have
was
to
the
move them again.
terminology I was just gonna change. Some people will use that interchangeably, easement or right-of-way.
Right.
In cases of what I believe the individual was referring to is the existing right-of-way. We would consume it. When we consume it with improvements, no, we do not have to add back what was there. The sidewalk or the road is just getting closer to the edge of the
So,
right-of-way.
so his property line, if we utilize our existing right-of-way, the property line does not change? Correct. Okay.
Where those are, the property line does not change. However, there may be a need for a temporary, well, what I call temporary is all we're doing is we're coming in and regrading grass or driveway so that it matches in.
Sure, and I understand that. And that's the way I understood it, but I wanted someone smarter than me to stand up and say it. Okay. Do we have any commissioners on the board at this time? Commissioner Baugh?
I just have a question. The one thing that I heard time and time again is, no, the residents do not seem to understand why we have the need to do anything to the road. I think that's what I'm hearing. So, Scott, if you could address that, because I'm out east, so I'm not as familiar with this particular area. If you could help me with that, sir.
Sure. Basically what it is you've got major routes that are utilized for all residents of the county to utilize through there. 75th, 59th, for your area, it would be kind of like Lakewood Ranch Drive, Bourneside, Lorraine, those areas that are in there. And so
They're
you're-
nice roads. They're nice roads.
As you're,
Okay, go ahead.
so as you get in there, you have these areas where people are using it, and as 75th gets busier, then you start having more lanes shift over to go other routes, and rather than getting them to go through neighborhoods, you create what's thoroughfares, which are the primary routes that you want to go, which is what these have been listed as. Now, correct, and earlier I think someone said 120-foot right-of-way. That is our standard process, but as a way to look at minimizing this, we did narrow this down to look at what were the absolute needs for this area to meet the requirements of that. And part of that, as residents have alluded to here, is not only are we looking at doing the lanes for the roadways, we're doing the multi-use path to get bicycles and other people and pedestrians to utilize it more. We're doing the multi-use path off to the side and not along the edge of the pavement because we prefer families and residents to be using something that's a little further away from the pavement.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else on the board for this? Okay. I've spoken, I think, pretty extensively on it last week. Staff did a good job of presenting, and we're going to hold a community meeting on this in January, which time I'll speak with, any and all residents to come forward. But I think really, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, one note, and I think Public Safety had provided you with some data about, while the residents may not see it, the only trauma center in the county is on 59th, which is Blake. And so anybody that has trauma has to go to that facility. And I think they provided the data of how many times, you know, the ambulances were backed up and left turn lanes were blocked and things like that. So, you know, sometimes it's at times when residents may not notice when it becomes a significant problem, and it's only going to get worse. The county's growing, the population out west is growing, and that's a major factor that we only have one trauma center in Manatee County, and it's on 59th. And with the Suggs rebuild of the new school, they added, I think, almost 200 students capacity for that school, and that too is on 59th.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure they're pretty aware of the number of ambulances that go up and down 59th, though, because I hear them, and I'm not right on 59th, but I still hear them. Okay. Any other commissioners on the board? All right, seeing none, we will entertain motions at this time. And by the way, the motion that I'm looking for, if anyone wants to make it, is to adopt, or, you know, to approve the motion, the realignment, with the caveat of allowing staff to use their discretion in terms of the need or location of roundabouts and for pond locations on county-owned property.
So moved.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Baugh. And a second by Commissioner Cruz. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Madam Clerk, item number 52 passes unanimously by a vote of 7-0. We are now going to go on to item number 53, which is adoption of Resolution R-22-220, approving the recommended alignment of 63rd Avenue East from US 301 to Tuttle Avenue. Mr. May, I assume you are presenting on this item as well.
Correct. Once again, 63rd, this will be the same comment I make for everyone, for the clerk. The large image file at the back is actually Exhibit A, as in the attachment, so it should be included with it.
Mr. May,
It was
I'm
not
going to
written.
ask you to pause for a quick moment.
Sure.
And allow the room to clear. Commissioner Ron wanted to make a statement.
No, I'm just wondering, are we gonna have enough time to get through this? It's 11:40 now. Are we gonna push through 12 o'clock to, this is a project in my district that I want to get a lot of information on. I have a lot of citizens that
Okay.
are concerned. So I just want to make sure that we're going to give it ample time, and it's 20 minutes ample time.
Sir, your microphone's not on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so
Well, I'm pretty loud anyway. So my question was, Mr. Chair, it's 11:40 right now. Are we going to give it ample time to be discussed? Are we going to break at noon for lunch? And are we going to come back and revisit this after lunch for the conversation, or is that, can we do that?
we can, and that might be a good suggestion because Mr. Clegg, which is his job, caught a faux pas in our previous motion that we passed. And that is that GT Bray is, we referred to, I used the term county-owned property, and GT Bray is owned by the city of Bradenton, and it is leased by Manatee County. So, Mr. Clegg, I'll turn this over to you.
You could revise the motion to say county-owned or leased property.
I mean, should we just give him discretion on pond sites overall in general?
It cannot be on private property is the issue. That's the issue, is that that's more difficult. So the discretion would be for
On government-owned.
county-owned or leased property. You could say government-owned property.
Okay.
Government-owned property is fine.
So Commissioner Ball, would you like to amend? Or do you want to hold the vote over? How do you want to do this?
Have the, can we have the clerk restate the motion?
Okay, the motion was to approve the realignment, allowing staff to use their discretion as to the need and location of roundabouts and the location of ponds. It was read as county property, and we can amend it to, as recommended, county, to government property.
Correct. So I would like them to take that vote again. So I would like the board to just vote on that motion with the change from county-owned to government-owned. And Commissioner Ball, you could just say so moved.
So moved.
And the seconder could agree. I agree. And then we could just vote it again.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, Madam Clerk, that amended motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, a suggestion?
Sure.
The, Courtney DePaul, her reports will go quickly. If you want her to just give her reports before lunch.
That would be fine. Scott, stand down, sir. Okay.
Ms. DePaul, so, Mr. Chair, that'd be items number 58 through
59?
60.
And 60, you want 60 as well?
Well, 58 through 59.
Dr. Hopes, is action required on 58 through 60?
I do not believe so. You're just receiving the reports if I'm
That's
not
correct.
mistaken.
Okay,
Correct?
so no action required. Then 58 through 60, I will turn over to Deputy County Administrator Courtney DePaul.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Courtney DePaul. I'm Deputy County Administrator. With me for this first item is Lacey Pritchard. She's my Business Services Manager, as well as my Building Official, Bill Palmer. So they're just going to tell you a little about something that's going on with Florida statute. Lacey.
Well, it's still morning. Good morning, Commissioners, County Administrator. We're here to just kind of give you guys an update on Florida's legislation passed, Florida Statute 553.899 for a condo association, a condo milestone inspection program. So we have implemented a new program that these inspections will occur on condos that reach 25 years of age that are within the 3 mile of the coastline and for 30 years of age outside of the coastline. Inspections will occur every 10 years after that. With the assistance of ITGIS in collaboration with the Property Appraiser's Office, we were able to identify 510 structures in Manatee County that have reached the 3 stories or higher. Out of those 510, we have identified 105 of those structures within unincorporated Manatee County, which we're responsible for. The municipalities outside, they're responsible for those themselves. We will be mailing out postcards this week to all of those registered condo associations of the 105. It will have a QR code, and there's a picture of it. That is a 123 GIS survey that will not only get pertinent information, but will also start mapping those on a GIS map viewer. And so we'll be in compliance with our notification that we're set for December 30th to have that done. And we'll continue to update you all on the progression of that program.
So just to clarify for the public, so this was as a result of that Miami building collapse. And so this is why the statute was passed. We've been communicating already with the community, but this is just more outreach to let them know. Municipalities are responsible for doing their own, for their facilities that meet this criteria. But that was sort of what started this entire thing, why it was enacted in May of this year. So facilities have until December of 2024 to complete these inspections if they're due. And again, these are structural engineering inspections that are required. So, thank you. And then I'll introduce the next item too. If you have any questions.
Great. No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Next item is really exciting. Not that this item wasn't exciting, so thank you, Lacey.
That was exciting.
Yeah, this one's really exciting. So this one is publication of legal notices that'll be done on our website electronically. And so this also requires an LDC text amendment. And so I've got Nicole Knapp here to provide an update on that. And we've gotten so much support from Bobby Roy, from IT, from a lot of folks. And why we really wanted to take this here today was because this will also be offered to every county employee that needs to advertise something publicly. And then our hope is that in the future, we could extend this to other municipalities within Manatee County. So let me.
Saving tax dollars.
Yes.
Bring up Mrs. Knapp.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Nicole Knapp, Comprehensive Planning Division Manager. It's a little clicker. Sorry. There it goes. So today, as Courtney said, we're here to share with you some exciting news regarding changes and improvements to the county's business process as it relates to our public legal notices. As some of you may be aware, in 2022, Florida legislature enacted House Bill 7049. And that was approved by the governor in May. The act is related to the requirements of public legal notices, specifically revising the statute so that we can use the county website to advertise our public legal notices and no longer use the newspaper. So this bill takes effect January 1st, 2023, so just a couple weeks from now. And beginning in January 1st, we will notice our legal notices on the newspaper, on our website and not in the newspaper. I eventually am going to get a couple slides, and I'm going to get to a little demonstration, and we'll dazzle you with everything that the website has already set up. But I want to just point out a few positives first. The legislation requires that we have the ability, when we post our notices, to be within 1 or 2 clicks maximum. So it's efficient for our readers, and they can find it. So when we show you the demonstration, you'll see that right on the home page, there's a button that directs you to the public notices. You hit it once, and it takes you directly to all the public notices, and they'll be grouped by meeting types. The public notices will be ADA compliant, so that improves the accessibility of the web content for all types of devices, for all types of disability ranges. The format will be searchable, so if someone is not too sure what they're looking for, they could try street address or common project name. But again, they're all listed by meeting type, so hopefully they wouldn't have to search too much. We'll be responsible for posting our own public notices on our website directly, so we will no longer be dependent on the newspaper to put it in the newspaper. We'll also be responsible for supplying the affidavit afterwards to state for the record that we have met the publication legal notice requirements so many days in advance. And let's see. There's going to be some cost savings. I don't know if my clicker's not working. So as you can imagine, there'll be some cost savings, both to the county staff and to the applicants. Right now, we currently, in development services, charge $600 per legal notice per project, and we estimate that'll be able to go down to $200 to cover the administrative costs, and that, again, will be effective January 1st. And like Courtney said, every department runs public notices, but obviously development services runs the most. So just an estimate, with our agenda coordinator alone, which is Bobby Roy, we estimate she'll save at least 20 hours a month of eliminating some of the back and forth with the newspaper. So our next steps, thank you, Natalie. Sorry. As Courtney mentioned, we have to do an amendment to the Land Development Code just so that we're consistent with Florida statute. This amendment will appear before the Planning Commission this coming Thursday, 2 days from now, and then before you all in December 15th. We'll work with Bill Logan on a press release so that our readers, residents are aware of the changes, and as well as the development community. And as Courtney also mentioned, we haven't finalized this, but we think there's an opportunity to work with our neighboring jurisdictions that are too small, not enough broadband width to use our website for their notices. So if we can change over from the slide to the county website, we can show you. Natalie's going to drive, and I'll talk you through. So this is the very top of the county webpage. If you roll down just below the picture, you can see where you one-click public hearing notices. There you go. It's categorized by board, planning commission, hearing officer, so normally residents know what they're looking for. Natalie, if you could just drop down the arrow for the board there, for example, it lists them then by whether it's a land development code, is it a DRI, is it a comprehensive plan amendment, so that residents, again, if it's a rezone, hopefully, they usually know what they're looking for, but we've tried to group them with like groups to make it a little easier. Can you select one that has a map? Yeah. Anything that's land specific and not a land development code text amendment, you click on that ad. When you get into that ad, if you do one more click, it takes you right to the property site. Pretty fancy, if you ask me. On the left of the public notice page, there are some quick links that take you also to where you could sign up to public speak. Again, they're all take you to other places on the web, but the common things that people tend to look for when they're speaking at public hearings or looking up about public hearings and meetings. We also have a registry system, which we're required to do. If they go back to the public hearing page where the public notices are, there's a link to where you can register. say you want to receive, you're someone who's not necessarily tech savvy, you do this one-time registry, and we'll mail it to you monthly or here? You can choose. Oh, you can choose, not automatically. You can choose to receive it by mail if you're not someone who is tech savvy and can get on our website and look when you want to look.
Okay,
Clarify
thank
one.
you.
And that feeds into the $200 charge as well, because we're required by statute to offer hard mail and email. And so we have had a couple people sign up already, and they've luckily signed up just for the email, which obviously cuts costs, but that is
Okay,
required.
thank you.
So,
Any questions?
Well, that's the next thing FAC can tackle, is the requirement to send hard mail. Okay, commissioners, anyone? No? You did a wonderful job explaining that, and
Okay.
you lived up to the expectation of being exciting.
Item number 60, Sheila says she only needs 3 minutes.
3 minutes for item number 60. Madam Clerk, you want to put that on the board? I'm teasing. Don't start the timer. Okay. Madam CFO.
I'm going to break a record here today. Good morning, Commissioners. Again, this is Sheila McLean, Manatee County CFO. I'm glad to be here today. I am presenting today, and unfortunately, the IST committee chairman couldn't be here as she couldn't, detach herself from prior engagements. So I will be giving the highlights of the annual report. On November 15 of 2022, we met with the committee to actually finalize a report to them of the end of the unaudited September 30th, 2022 end of year results. This is a requirement of our resolution that was set forth on the IST. And here we are with the highlights of the annual report. There are 4 specific items to report on this resolution and that we have to meet as per the resolution and the ordinance set forth. The one is, have we met that the subcategories and the percentages were reviewed in accordance, reviewed actual or planned expenditures, and they are consistent with subcategories percentages provided in the infrastructure sales tax categories list, which is Exhibit 1. 2, changes to the category list. 58 project changes were approved by the board totaling $10.9 million. No changes in the category percentages occurred in fiscal year 2022 or presented in the CIP book. Number 3, the expenditures and revenues that on the project and equipment expenditures total $22 million, debt service cost of $220,000. The IST tax revenue for the half cent received approximately $32.9 million in 2022, which we had expected an estimated appropriation of 28. So we received only approximately $4.5 million more than what we anticipated in 2022. Number 4, changes to the list. All the changes to the infrastructure sales tax and project and equipment lists were made in accordance with the resolution. In conclusion, we have met all the 4 items established by the committee and the establishment of the committee, confirming the categories and percentages. 2, confirming the changes to the IST funding categories list as approved by the board. Confirming the expenditures were used as set forth, and confirming that the changes of the IST project and equipment lists that were approved by the board were met and satisfied as per the committee. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any commissioners on the board with questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Sheila.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it.
If you want to read the whole 332 pages of the annual report, they are part of the documents of the items attached in the agenda.
So noted. All right. Yes, okay. Thank you for some good Christmas reading. Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank
It
you,
is, Commissioners, it is 11:56. We're going to adjourn this meeting for lunch. We're going to recess this meeting for lunch until 1:30. We're in recess.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this swearing-in ceremony for our newly elected county commissioners. I am County Attorney Bill Clegg, and Chairman Van Ostenbridge has asked me to preside over this gathering. The purpose of it is to provide each of the commissioners-elect with a formal and dignified location in which to take their oaths of office to commence their terms. With respect to the sitting commissioners and the newly elected commissioners, I do have to remind everyone we have noticed this meeting strictly for that purpose, for each of those commissioners to take their oaths of office. We have not noticed it as a meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to conduct county business, so I would respectfully ask each of you to refrain from discussing county business during this gathering. So the plan is to bring each commissioner down individually, have them take their oath, sign their oath. My office manager, Patricia Nolan, is here to notarize their oath. And then after that, the chair has asked that all of us take the dais for the purpose of taking some photographs. So there may be some picture taking afterwards. There will be a reception outside in the lobby. I hope some of you have already enjoyed some of the refreshments out there. And we've also made arrangements so that if any individual commissioner-elect would like to make a statement, they can come back into this room and do so for the camera individually without the other commissioners present, so they are free to talk about their goals, their ideas for county business without worrying about the Sunshine Law. So, Florida Statute 100.041 provides that commissioners-elect take their offices on the second Tuesday after the general election, which of course is today, and their terms of office begin upon taking their constitutionally required oath. So without further ado, we're going to do this alphabetically, which means that first, Commissioner-elect Amanda Ballard and Judge Malucci will please come down and administer the oath, and we'll do that here. And I've got the oath ready for you. So, Your Honor, if you could stand right here, and then Ms. Ballard, if you could stand here. And I'll sort of do-si-do around.
Oh. I can hold her.
She can, it's allowed.
That's so sweet. Okay. All right, let's repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and the government of the United States
the Constitution and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties
of Manatee County Board of County Commissioners, District 2,
of Manatee County Board of County Commissioners, District 2,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Congratulations and welcome to your new role as District 2. All right, so next, Commissioner-elect Jason Bearden. Please come down and we will get you sworn in as well, sir. So once again, if you would stand here.